Good afternoon, second graders. I have chapter 26 of Poppy and Rye. This is the Battle of the Boulder, and I'm going to read this in two parts because this chapter is about 15 pages long. So I think this is really going to be the grand finale of our book, and then the last two chapters will be a little bit more resolution. What had happened to Thistle and Curly Duck? When Thistle, under attack from the beaver, lost her grip on the raft, she let herself sink below the water's surface. A good swimmer, she had the sense to move fast and far away from the tumbled raft as well as the beaver. For as long as her lungs allowed her to, she swam under water. Then she rose to the surface and cried out, "Curly Duck! Poppy!" It was too dark to see anything. Terribly, Thistle swam about in circles in search of her companions. She was still searching when she heard a faint splash. "Who's that?" she called. "It's me, Curly Duck." "Who's that?" "Thistle." "Where are you?" The two met in the middle of the pond. "Where's Poppy?" was the first thing Curly Duck said. "I hoped she'd be with you." "I didn't see what happened to her." "Do you think she's all right?" asked Thistle. "I don't know." "Listen." There came what sounded like a faint cry. "Here we are!" Thistle called back loudly. "Shh! A beaver might hear you." In any case, there was no response. "Curly Duck?" "What?" "Poppy said she wasn't a good swimmer." Do you think," Curly Duck stammered, "do you think she drowned?" Instead of replying, Thistle which way? Thistle tried to gauge their place. "I think that way is closest," she pointed the way with her nose. The two mice swam steadily. Neither spoke until they reached the shore. As soon as they got out, they both looked back over the pond. "Do you see anything?" Thistle said. "No." "What are we going to tell Pa and Ma?" "Better just say what happened," Curly Duck replied. What do you think did happen?" "She must have drowned." Thistle shook her head. Curly Duck said, "She said she couldn't swim, and we didn't hear her, did we? Maybe she got to the lodge anyway." Thistle, "Even if she did, she said she needed us to get Rye out." "But then what'll happen to Rye?" There was no answer. Suddenly, Thistle said, "Curly Duck, Ma and Pa were moving tonight. We don't know where they went. Maybe they left a note." The two mice ran up the hill. There was a pale light, but no sun yet upon the eastern horizon when an exhausted Thistle and Curly Duck, full of their awful news, reached the hilltop. To their complete surprise, they saw the entire family working in a frenzy. Half were laboring in the ditch before the boulder. The others were toiling about the boulder's base, hauling away dirt as fast as they could. Most of the earth around the boulder already had been removed. To Thistle and Curly Duck's eyes, the boulder appeared to be resting on absolutely nothing. "Pa!" Curly Duck called. Valerian turned. His mouth opened with surprise. "Why, what are you two doing here? Did you free Rye? Where's Poppy?" "Pa," Thistle said, "we were getting close to the beaver's lodge on a raft when one of the beavers discovered us." "No!" "Then we got whacked with a tail," Curly Duck continued. "The raft went over, but Thistle and we're good swimmers." "You mean Poppy?" "We're not sure, but drowned, probably." Valerian, mouth agape, struggled to control his emotions. Turning away, he gazed at the boulder, the ditch, the pond. "Pa," Thistle asked, "what's everybody doing?" Valerian explained as best he could. "You're going to smash the dam?" Curly Duck exclaimed when he heard the plan. "We're trying, but I think I'd better talk to your mother. Tell her your news." He hurried away. Clover, to oversee her part of the digging, had established herself with her three youngest just behind the large stone. The moment Valerian appeared, she bolted up. "What is it?" "Something has happened. I can see it in your face." "It's Thistle and Curly Duck." Clover shut her eyes. "They were going to the lodge on a wood chip when a beaver turned them over." "Valerian, the children, what happened to them?" "Thistle and Curly Duck got back. They're good swimmers, but it's Poppy." "What happened to her?" "Then they never reached Rye?" "No." "Valerian," Valerian asked, "what do you think we should do?" Clover dipped her head, swallowed hard, then looked up. Valerian, you said it before. Poppy's a clever mouse. Maybe she's all right. Maybe she isn't. But I still think we have to get the boulder going down the ditch like we planned. We have to do something. But Clover, if Rye is still in the lodge, it might make things worse. At each other. Valerian, Clover said in a whisper, struggling to remain dry-eyed. I still think we have to try. I do. I guess you're right, Valerian returned grimly. The ditch is pretty much done. How soon can we push the boulder down? Clover, burping one of the babies, said, We only need to dig a little more, and then... Whatever Clover was about to say was cut off by a shout on the other side of the hill. Beavers! Came the cry. The beavers are attacking! Oh my gosh, work as fast as you can, Valerian urged Clover. We'll try to hold them off. He gave Clover a quick hug, then tore around to the front of the boulder to see what was happening. 13 beavers had waddled out of the pond. Arrayed all in a row, dripping wet, they were whacking their broad tails on the earth, making an awful racket. Their teeth, side by side, looked like an orange picket fence. In the middle of the line was Mr. Kanad, peering up at the boulder. Now that the mice's work had progressed so far, he was able to grasp what it was the mice were attempting. Great balls of fire, he raged. They're going to topple that boulder. If it comes down, it'll hit the dam. It's unfair. It's wrong-headed. It's a matter of life and death. Up he reared. For the honor of Kanad's cute condos, he bawled, we've got to draw the line somewhere. Give me a dam or give me death. Go whole hog, go for broke, fight tooth and nail, charge! As one of the beavers began to waddle up the hill. The mice, taken by surprise, stopped work on the boulder and the ditch. Too terrified to do anything, they simply stared at the advancing line of beavers. Valerian rushed down. Defend yourselves, he cried. If only that's what we need. Galvanized, the mice scrambled in all directions, running and tripping over themselves as they gathered sticks, pebbles, and clods of dirt. Hold your fire, Valerian called. Wait till you can see the gap between their teeth. The beavers, beating their tails, pressed up the hill. Their sheer bulk was enough to frighten away some of the mice. Curly Duck, unable to restrain herself, charged down the hill with a mud ball in either paw. Come on, he yelled. Don't stand there. Attack. Thistle, armed with a pointed stick, was the first to join him. As soon as he was in throwing range, Curly Duck chucked his mud balls at the beavers. When these balls bounced harmlessly off the beavers' pelts, he gathered up more and threw them. Unfazed, the beavers continued their advance. Be warned, Mr. Kanad bawled up at the mice. We don't intend to let anything happen to that boulder. Valerian, meanwhile, was in a frenzy, organizing his sons, daughters, and grandchildren into 3 brigades. When I give the word, he told them, the first group will follow me. Go after 1 beaver at a time. It's the only way. You other 2 groups attack when you think it's time. Now chins up, whiskers straight, noses a-quiver. Let's show them what mice can do. Brandishing a twig, he dashed down the hill, his offspring trailing behind. Thistle and Curly Duck were off on their own, poking and pricking a beaver's feet with twigs. Maddened, the beaver spun about, lowering his tail shield. Brother and sister pressed their attack relentlessly. The beaver turned and fled back toward the pond. Meanwhile, Valerian and his pack of mice surrounded another beaver. They pelted her with a stick attack. The beaver responded by grabbing at them, snatching at them, flinging them off to one side. She also began to flail about with her tail, smashing down indiscriminately. The mice, some hurt, retreated. But even as they did, the second wave of mice, 15 strong and squeaking madly, swarmed down the hill. Mice to the fore! Mice to the fore! They cried in unison. So furious was their onslaught with sticks and pebbles and mud balls, the attack of the beavers faltered. When one of the mice managed to shove a stick up a beaver's nose, the beaver turned and scampered back toward the pond. Mr. Kanad reared up to block his way. How dare you retreat, he cried, shoving the frightened beaver back up the hill. They're only mice. Beavers never retreat. We have not yet begun to fight. Rally round the flag. Don't give up the ship. Remember, Kanad's cute condos, you're fighting for the honor and glory of me. A third wave of mice, emboldened by the success of the first two groups, poured down the hill in a great wave, squealing, "Mice and freedom! Mice and freedom!" at the top of their lungs. Too excited, they struck out at any beaver that was near. It was Thistle and Curly Dock who went after Mr. Kanad. He snarled and snapped at them, and then with one sweep of his tail, sent them tumbling head over tail. Dazed but unhurt, they shook themselves up and hurled themselves back into the fray. Whack! Whack! Went Mr. Kanad's tail. The mice danced away. The mice did manage to dent the beaver's onslaught. Each beaver, surrounded by mice, was forced into fighting alone. But though the mice attacked and attacked again, the beavers gradually moved up the hill. Despite their stubborn resistance, the mice were forced into retreat. It was not a rout, but their strength was beginning to ebb. So I'm going to stop there. It's an exciting spot to stop, but I'm going to read the rest of this chapter later this afternoon because it's so long. This is certainly an exciting part of the book. I hope you're enjoying it. I'll be back a little bit later.